Hello, happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to the Hat on Head News Cabin. Just gonna give you some headlines as I do. Hope everyone is doing all right. It is Sunday, April 19th. Beautiful day here in Boston. Hope everyone's able to enjoy the day, do something productive, help someone out, do something cool, whatever makes you feel good. All right, we're gonna get into it here. The news right now is all about the divide, about how to reopen the country. There's a lot of people that are hurting really bad, and they are saying we can't do this anymore. A lot of protesters that are more on the political side of things and just don't believe that this lockdown is good for the country. So they're getting out there and letting people know. And then on the other side, about the other 2/3 of America thinks these people are dumb and that we should apparently continue to lock down for an indefinite amount of time. To me, the plan always has to be, okay, when are we getting back to work? It's not if we get back to work when the coronavirus is a viral pandemic that is hurting people that are older and more vulnerable, and we have to protect them, but we also have to continue to function as a country. And that's something that obviously there's a large portion of this country that does not understand, that we're all in this together, and if the economy shuts down, the people on the lower end are super fucked. And we have not figured out how to get this stimulus money to people. There's tons of people that should have gotten it that haven't, and I am very doubtful about this, how this stimulus package is going to be divvied out, which is one of the stories that we have here. The lobbying industry down in DC is booming. They are spending lots of time to figure out how they're going to get their chunk of this huge pie that's going to be thrown out there in the form of the stimulus package. It's a very American way to go. Obviously, the response, I think, from the politicians has lacked data, lacked knowledge, lacked insight, the response has been, go home. We have to be safe. Okay, yeah, sounds good, but we also have to live, and you understand that we all live together, and after a period of a couple months, people are going to be really hurting. Obviously, they didn't understand that at all because they just planned for just go home indefinitely. That's not a plan, right? So that's what I think. Going to show you first the World of Meters numbers, where we're at here on Sunday, April 19th. And then I'm going to read this Politico article that talks about lobbying and what they're going to decide to do with the stimulus package. Because although we have a president, we have a Senate, we have a Congress, the lobbyists are the ones that make the decisions in the United States of America. All right, get right into it. All right, 2,351 cases, 161,000 deaths. In the United States, 39,000. And yesterday we were down, so that's a good sign. Less death, the better. But also, the more life, the better, which I think that that's something that we have failed to take into account here. All right, and here we go. K Street is booming, but there's a creeping sense of dread. Interviews with more than a dozen lobbyists paint a picture of an influence industry in turmoil. The $2.2 trillion coronavirus relief bill was just the beginning of a Washington lobbying bonanza, but lobbyists are rushing to get a piece of the action in case it evaporates with a cratering economy. Lobbyists are hustling to influence the rules dictating how the first bundle of stimulus money will be spent, and looking ahead to how to get their clients' priorities into the next mammoth spending package. You know who doesn't have someone there fighting for the American people? The gaming industry is trying to bend President Donald Trump's ear so casinos can get emergency federal loans over the opposition of a crucial agency. Diagnostic labs are lobbying for direct funding to help process an unprecedented volume of COVID-19 tests, a key to reopening the American economy. and Native American tribes sued Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin on Friday to prevent billions of dollars in relief funds set aside for them from going to Alaskan Native corporations, which could mean less money for the tribes. Business is booming on K Street, but lobbyists are also dreading what might be on the horizon if the economy slumps into a protracted recession. According to interviews with more than a dozen lobbyists for this story, several privately expressed worry that business could dry up if the companies with falling revenue move to cut expenses. Some lobbying firms could even go under. The pain has started already at some firms. K&L Gates, a prominent law and lobbying firm that snapped up former Republican Jeff Dunham, Republican of California, when he left Congress last year, announced in an internal interview last week that it would cut pay by 15% across the board starting next month. The pay cuts came even though K&L Gates has signed 2 new lobbying clients for coronavirus-related work in recent weeks, according to disclosure filings. I would never call it a gold rush, and I think it would be foolish for people to feel lobbying firms won't feel a negative impact when the economy takes a hit like this, said Hunter Bates, a former aide to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who's now a top lobbyist at Aiken, Gump, Strauss, Hauer, and Feld. His firm has signed at least 8 new clients for coronavirus-related work. So he's saying that it's down, but it's up. Obviously, he's a lobbyist. Several lobbyists warned that some less established lobbying firms could fold, as they did in the 2008 financial crisis. This is going to be like that, but orders of magnitude greater, one Democratic tax lobbyist said. But for now, the chaos has been unmistakably good for business. Hospitals, casinos, Indian tribes, pharmaceutical interests, and private equity firms have all hired lobbyists for help, along with companies from 3M to Ticketmaster to Six Flags. Where's the American people's lobbyists? Congress? Yeah, right. Weeks after Trump signed the bill into law, K Street has been working overtime to sway Mnuchin and other officials charged with writing the rules that will govern who gets the money and how much they get. They've also got an eye on upcoming legislation to battle coronavirus and give the failing economy a shot in the arm. The next chance tuck industry requests into a must-pass spending bill. Everyone is preparing for 4.0, said former Republican Ryan Costello, Republican of Pennsylvania, who left Congress last year and is now a lobbyist, citing the expected 4th coronavirus relief bill. Lobbying itself, centered around in-person meetings and hobnobbing at fundraisers, is now confined to phone calls, text messages, emails, and Zoom conferences, often with small children wailing in the background. The inability to meet with members of Congress on Capitol Hill has put even more of a premium on lobbyists who have their cell phone numbers. Communicating via email and cell phone are the keys to the game right now, and access is high for those that already have access and relationships with the key players. Brian Wild, a one-time aide to former House Speaker John Boehner, who's now a lobbyist, wrote in a recent memo to clients. It's just funny that all politicians become lobbyists, and we wonder why the American people get screwed in this capitalism run amok government that we have. The lobbying rush has given a boost to Wild's firms, Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, Schreck, who has signed at least 17 new lobbying clients for coronavirus-related work, including the casino giant Wynn Resort and the National Retail Federation, according to the firm. Nearly 200 companies, trade groups, and other organizations have hired lobbyists to advocate for them on coronavirus-related matters, according to a Politico analyst of disclosure filings. The healthcare giant Tenet Healthcare and Envision Healthcare have each brought on 2 new lobbying firms in recent weeks for help with coronavirus. General Electric, Ford, New York Metropolitan Opera, Uber, and Darden Restaurants, which owns the Olive Garden and other chain restaurants, have also added lobbying firepower. Other companies and trade groups have turned to lobbyists who were in Congress themselves not long ago. Former Republican Bill Schuster, Republican of Pennsylvania, who served as the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee's chairman before leaving Congress last year, lobbied on the coronavirus relief bill for the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. The trade group paid his firm $60,000 to lobby on the bill and other issues for a little more than a month, according to disclosure filings. We're going to read this quick little coronavirus update for today. We got some of these numbers, but confirmed U.S. cases, 735,000 cases. Just in terms of numbers, the United States has between 330 and 350 million cases. So obviously that, that is significant. U.S. deaths, 39,000 deaths. Okay, this story here is a total non-story. I will not read it, but I'm going to read the headline and explain what a crock of shit it is. Officials in New Jersey worry the state's ventilator guidelines favor younger, whiter patients. When it comes to hospitals giving life-saving measures, they have measures in place to give, in this situation, those who have the biggest chance of survival. It has nothing to do with race whatsoever. And if you read this article, you will discover a Democratic governor who is clearly just a racist. She doesn't like white people, and she is unhappy because in some situations a ventilator would be given to a white people over a black person. It has nothing to do with race. It just happens to be that's how it would go. I mean, she would never have a problem if a white person was chosen for the ventilator and not the black person, right? Because she's a racist. This story is just totally. I mean, read it yourself, but it's basically describing something that is not happening. All right. When I wake up, I've got at least 25 text messages and 50 emails from people who are on the East Coast already at it, said former Republican Kevin Yoder from Kansas, who also left Congress last year and has lobbied on coronavirus-related matters out of his Kansas City, Kansas home. Part of the experience of lobbying was to develop a relationship. You bring in your client, you sit down, and the staffer have a conversation. There's a ritual that occurs. Obviously, that's much harder to do. A wave of companies sought out lobbyists for the first time. Quest Food Management Services, an Illinois company that serves meals at schools and universities, hired its first Washington lobbyist last month after realizing it was too big to qualify for loans for paid leave provisions for its hourly workers. With schools shut down, the company had lost more than 90% of its revenue, said Nicholas Saccaro, the company's president. I didn't have a clue what to do. What do you do? Google lobbying firm, Saccaro said, adding that he connected with Alexander Borovica and O'Shea Government Solutions, the lobbying firm representing the company, through a recommendation from a business connection. We weren't clued in enough, and we've never had to battle for this kind of stuff, he said. We suddenly realized that we were on the outside looking in. All right, guys, that is very bad news. A lot of companies are hiring lobbying firms for the first time, and this is bad for the American people. Yeah, that's pretty much showing how business is done, how these decisions are made. In terms of this response, the decisions have been very disjointed and they lacked a plan, right? And now what we have is lobbying firms who are going to jump in there and they're going to give President Trump, Congress, senators, governors of the states, all sorts of different people. They're going to give these politicians a plan. And that plan is going to involve their client being rewarded, getting aid, all this type of stuff. That's pretty much, this is an article that shows what our American economy is all about. It's all about the moolah, the dollar bills. If you ain't got them, you're fucked. All right, keep your hat on your head. Thanks.